All right, Luca, it is time to put a bow on this Bills-Bengals game with our favorite segment of the week, particularly when the Bills win, game balls and game checks. Who gets your game ball for the Bills' victory over the Bengals today?
I mean, Josh, it's pretty simple coming from this seat. Um, I'm not going to try to sit here and dick around and say, this guy was pretty good and that guy was decent and stuff like that. Everyone that listens to this podcast, one, appreciate you. Two, knows where my heart lies on this team. And 4-7, returning that 67-yard pick six, Josh. 6-7, just putting it out there. Um, when that happened, it just brightened my eyes. It was just awesome to see. You love seeing this. I mean, Christian Benford did something that I feel like I haven't seen a lot, and it's actually from a statistical standpoint. If anyone likes to just check box scores for fun and pulls up the Buffalo defense box score, and I like doing it on ESPN because it's nice and simple, he has a 1 in every statistical category. 1 tackle total, 1 solo tackle, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defended, 1 QB hit, 1 touchdown, 1 interception if you want to throw it on there. They don't put it in that because they have their own separate category for that. But he's just got ones across the board. Christian Benford from the boundary corner position impacted this game everywhere. He got home and finished a corner blitz in a huge moment. He picked off a beautiful screen and ran it to the house with Jamar Chase hustling him down. Although the hustle could be put in a little bit of question, Josh. I will say Jamar Chase kind of quit on that 10 yards out. And I thought that was a little odd for a Jamar Chase level speed. I digress. He absolutely dominated from the corner position to a level against Joe Burrow that was an absolute must if you wanted to win this game. And I just think there's no one else more deserving after this game to get a game ball than Christian Benford. So that's where it goes to number 47 from me.
I love it. Hard to argue against. Christian Benford had a massive game 2 weeks in a row, and 2 weeks in a row he gets your game ball. I think there's several ways we could go. For those that aren't aware, we do not ever pick Josh Allen in this segment. We retired that ability last year when we realized we could probably pick Josh Allen almost every week. So Josh Allen is not an option in game balls. I'm sure he's okay with that. He has not voiced a complaint to us yet that we know of. We'll continue to check our DMs and see if that changes, but for now, he seems to be okay with it. I'm going to give you a couple of my runners up before I ultimately give you my pick. I mentioned him a little bit before. Shaq Thompson continues to make splash plays out there. There was a play where he had good coverage even on T. Higgins, who, by the way, it seemed like T. Higgins probably should have come out of that game a little sooner than he did. But that's neither here nor there. I was impressed with how James Cook ran, but boy, it's hard to give him a game ball when he fumbles the ball twice at the 1 yard line on the same drive. And then I also really liked, who else did I like in this game? I thought, if you want to give Jordan Phillips and AJ Epinesa a shout out for their hand and in the interception where Phillips tipped it and Epinesa catches it, I get that. And then Mac Prater was 5 for 5 on all of his kicks today on a day where the field was slick. But ultimately, Luca, I'm going to go with Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox was a man amongst boys out there when it comes to Bills receiving options. 6 receptions for 93 yards, 7 total targets, and as Luca mentioned, a 2-point conversion. We knew going in the Bengals had struggled covering the tight end. That's why so many of us thought that it was so important for Kincaid, if he could be healthy, to play. Kincaid did gut it out, was a factor in the game, but obviously was not full throttle out there. Dawson Knox came up big for this team. And I know there's a lot of people out there question that contract he got several years ago before the Bills drafted Kincaid. It was right in line with what Kelsey got, and Dawson Knox has not lived up to that. I understand that. But on this day, when they needed somebody to step up, particularly in that position group, Dawson Knox stood up. He gets the game ball. All right, Luca, game check award. Who deserves to have their game check taken away for what happened in the Bills-Bengals game?
I think there are some players who played, participated, and, took part of this game that I think could be deserving of this game check award. What I will say though is because of the outcome and the nature of this game, it feels dirty to pick on someone. In my opinion, no one stands out too much that I feel like they are a clear candidate for this. So, in the spirit of this award, something that we love to do in those perfect games, Josh, there's one individual who didn't even appear on the entirety of the box score for their position, Mitch Wishnowsky. Buddy,
Oh,
you didn't do anything today, and that's great because we needed every single point that we had and every drive needed to be capitalized. Thank you for not needing to step on the field and boot a ball far. That is very much so appreciated. But also, since you didn't actually do anything of your primary job today, you get my game check award.
I'm with it. I'm with it. Yeah, I mean, on a day where you don't need your punter, it's hard not to argue like, hey, go ahead and give your game check back. James Cook, I think, deserves consideration here for multiple fumbles, but again, he's a guy the Bills have been able to count on. Unfortunately, Ty Johnson, I think, deserves some consideration here too. I don't know what you can really do about slipping in the snow, but he didn't do much outside of that. And, he had basically less than 40 yards total, but that slip cost the Bills 4 points. Brandon Cooks had 0 catches on 0 targets with 0 yards. I'm going to go outside the box. I bet you if I'd have given you 30 guesses, you wouldn't be able to come up with this. I'm going to go with Morgan Fox. There's going to be a contingent out there of you that say, who is Morgan Fox? Let me tell you who Morgan Fox is. After Michael Hoyt got injured, Morgan Fox was a guy that the Bills signed as a free agent. And there was a lot of excitement that, hey, he could fill the Michael Hoyt role. But at the very least, he could come in and get TJ Sanders back to defensive tackle where he belonged. Not only did Morgan Fox, who was active today, if you didn't notice, don't worry about it because he sure didn't do anything. Not only was Morgan Fox active today, and yes, he did actually play in the game. He had 11 snaps, Luca. It didn't matter because TJ Sanders played all of his snaps today on the edge. So Morgan Fox, 0 snaps that mattered, 0 impact plays, couldn't even be bothered to register a tackle in this game. And TJ Sanders still lined up at edge, which is there's going to be an investigation on that because holy cow, you invested a lot in this kid in the second round. It's not like you just have greatness going on at defensive tackle. So yeah, Morgan Fox. It's a Morgan Fox kind of day on the game check.